Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Spiritually Aligned, a podcast that's designed to support and guide women who are on their journey of awakening. Over the next several months, I'm actually dedicating this space to supporting and guiding the divine feminines on the twin flame journey. In each of these episodes, we'll begin to dive into various aspects of this journey so you can peel back the layers and rediscover who you are, along with aligning to your inner knowing regarding your twin flame journey. By doing so, you begin to cultivate not only a loving and compassionate and understanding journey for yourself, but also for your beloved as well. So I invite you to join me as we start diving into understanding third-party energy, karmic connections, and third-party dynamics in the twin flame journey. But before we dive into this week's episode, I want to introduce myself. My name is Melissa. I'm your host. I'm a spiritual guide. I'm a Reiki master. I clear energies multidimensionally, and I'm the divine feminine in my twin flame connection. For those of you that are into human design, I'm a 3/5 emotional projector. And why I share that about myself is because I've known my whole entire life I'm here to guide others. And for the last several years on my twin flame journey, I knew that I was here to guide the divine feminines to inner union. And the 3 part of me loves, and I mean loves, to experience all that life has to offer. And it's through these experiences that I actually experiment with life as well. So I learn what works and what doesn't work. And the 5 part of me shares this and teaches others how to navigate their journey of awakening and their twin flame journey in a much different, higher aligned way. And so if any of this is resonating with you and you are a divine feminine on the twin flame journey, then I invite you to join me in this week's episode, especially if either you or your beloved are in a karmic connection, ultimately putting you in a third-party dynamic, then this episode is for you. Whether or not you are on the twin flame journey, the information that we're going to dive into is actually going to relate to anyone who finds themselves constantly in third-party dynamics or perhaps in a karmic connection. And my purpose of sharing this information is to help you once and for all clear the third-party energy that is within you that's ultimately creating these third-party dynamics. And if you were to get really real with yourself, most likely you have found yourself in multiple relationships that had some third-party dynamic into it. And hopefully by now, if not, I'm glad I'm giving you this information, is that you are the common denominator in all of your relationships. And if you're anything like me, you have probably manifested and attracted the same type of person in your relationships, but just in a different human body, right? And so this is key indicators of what wants to be seen and accepted within you, so you can heal these parts of you and not only transform yourself internally, but also to ultimately being able to attract a partner or your twin flame back into your reality. But before we get into talking about this, I want you to know that if you are attracting third-party dynamics quite often, or if you're in a twin flame journey and either you or your beloved is in a karmic connection, so putting you in a third-party connection, I want you to know that you're not alone, because I know the way society looks at things, there's a lot of shame around these connections. There's blame, there's guilt. I mean, the amount of emotions and energies that are attached to these connections is tremendous. And they're mostly lower vibrational energies. But it may or may not be your fault. But it's important for you to understand that if you are attracting these, that it is your responsibility to create a change within yourself, especially since you can see this. And if you are wanting to create a different outcome in your reality, then it is up to you to change. And so I first want to start diving into karmic connections. A lot of people find themselves in these type of connections, and we all know that karma is lessons that we need to learn. And with karmic connections, it's lessons and things that we need to clear specifically with that person. And from my experience, when we don't learn and complete the lesson that we're supposed to learn from one karmic connection, we'll actually continue to manifest karmic connections over and over and over until we ultimately learn that lesson. And a lot of times what happens is we end up getting frustrated in these karmic connections and end up leaving them before we learn the lesson. And in that case, the contract may or may not be completed with that person. But ultimately, when it comes to a karmic connection, it is just your responsibility to clear the karma for you and that person, just for you. Like, you don't have to worry about teaching them what they need to learn from you, because it's only your responsibility to clear your karma with that person. And when you do, that karma will be cleared once and for all. And a lot of times what I've learned through my own experiences and working with clients and individuals who are in these connections, the major lesson for us is to take back our power. To take back our power and to step into our truth and who we are meant to be in this lifetime. And I know sometimes when you're in these connections, it is so hard to rise above what it is that you're going through in the 3D reality. I know because, I had my karmic connection, like one of the hardest that I've ever had prior to meeting my beloved. And I actually didn't know anything about karmic connections. I barely even understood soulmates. And I had never heard of twin flame dynamics until a year and a half after meeting my twin flame. And so now I'm really passionate about sharing about this twin flame journey, but also helping others become who they're meant to be in this lifetime. And eventually I'll start focusing on how to cultivate and create conscious relationships, because I know as the world is evolving and more people are healing, that more and more people are seeking higher, more aligned relationships and navigating relationships in a different way. So I want to talk about some things that are some signs that are indicators that you're in a karmic connection. You know, most likely in the first 3 months of your journey with this person, it seems almost too good to be true, right? Like, they're this amazing person. They're doing everything and anything they can to win you over. And if you are intuitive or in tune to your body, most likely during this time, your body, your intuition is telling you that something is off. Almost like it's too good to be true, because guess what? It is. Because karmic connections tend to get very intense, and there is a lot of situations where one person is playing small and the other person is trying to control and manipulate them. Oftentimes there can be some emotional, mental, verbal, and even physical violence in these dynamics. And if you are in a situation where you're experiencing that, please, 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 please get help. Ask others to help you navigate through this. I am not a professional in terms of helping people with abuse. However, I'm here to help teach people how to create a change within them and heal these parts so they no longer have to attract these types of dynamics. And a lot of times in karmic connections, the person that is playing small, if you were to really think about that, especially if it's you, if you're in a karmic connection and you are playing small, it's because you're receiving something from this person that you are benefiting from in some way. A lot of people that I work with, it's always about money. Like some way, shape, or form, this person that you're in this karmic connection with is supporting you in some way, shape, or form. I know for me, that was my case. And I didn't think if I left this person that I would be able to make it on my own. And if it's money or anything along those lines, or providing you with the life that you desire, and you're afraid that if you walk away from this, that you're not going to be able to have that life. That's more of the inner work that you're needing to do. And to remember, when you step into your power and to step into your truth and align to the highest version of yourself, just by who you are and the inner work that you do, you're going to be able to create an incredible life that you have never dreamed of or ever thought was possible. But it's going to require work. It's going to require inner work, and also too probably some energy healing. And I want to talk about, if you're on the twin flame journey, and if I can only speak from the perspective of having my beloved in a karmic connection. And for those of you that are new here, I am the what people would say is the chaser in my dynamic. I've come into inner union and I am no longer chasing. I am in where people would say is surrendering and letting go, and really focusing on creating the life that I desire for myself, and trusting in the knowing of the universe that it's going to align things when things are perfect, right? And there is so much freedom and peace within this. But prior to where I am now, I was chasing, which ultimately pushed my divine masculine into running as far away from me as possible, and ultimately running towards other connections. And what I didn't know at the time when I've experienced my first karmic connection with him and putting us in this third party dynamic was that these connections are also here for me to heal. And so if you're a divine feminine or perhaps a divine masculine, and your partner, your twin flame, is in a connection with somebody else, you also have karma with that person. That person that they're in a connection with is here to help you grow and to help you step into your power. So when I recently discovered this a couple years ago, I really did some inner work, and I sat with myself of like, why am I upset at her? Why do I have these feelings? And really started investigating my internal reality regarding this dynamic. And I went through many layers of healing and realized that in some ways she was an older version of myself. And it helped me heal these parts of me that were wounded, and I could start to understand then why she was reacting in the ways that she was doing. And this was through a couple different karmic partners. And it took me a while to learn. And we have to remember that if you're the divine feminine and you're on this journey with the divine masculine on the twin flame journey, if you're doing most of the healing in terms of you, the more that you can heal internally within you regarding these connections, it's ultimately going to help your divine masculine heal as well. And there's a part of you that's attracting these, and we're going to talk about that in a moment when we talk about third-party energy, because it's really important to understand these components, because I didn't understand them for a while, and I kept blaming him for attracting these connections. But ultimately, those connections were also there for me to help me heal. And when you start clearing your karma with their karmic partner, it starts to change the contract for you and that person. And eventually it will also start changing the contract between your beloved and that person. You're not here to do their work for them. You're here to do the work for yourself in relationship to this person, ultimately freeing you up, and will ultimately free your twin flame up as well, because energetically you are one. And we have to remember with karmic connections, these are connections that happened in previous lifetimes where there's still karma that's played out. And in order to come into union of self, we have to clear our karma with these individuals. And then to come into 3D union, karma in terms of romantic relationships and stuff like that need also to be cleared. And the one thing that I learned is that people will say, and this is where I don't always agree, people will say the masculine has to learn all of these lessons before they can come back to the feminine. Yes, in some ways that's true, but ultimately the divine feminine has some similar lessons to learn as well, which is a step into your power and to start living from your heart and living from that place of unconditional love. And I know when you're in these connections, it's really hard at times to unconditionally love somebody who is with your beloved, right? But that's where you have to get, like, you have to be able to unconditionally love them, because as twin flames, we're here to anchor in the codes of unconditional love. And that unconditional love that we have for our beloved, we need to start extending that out into the world. And I can tell you that with my karmic connections, after I decided that I wasn't going to date for an extended period of time, my karmic connections started coming through roommates, coworkers, bosses. I mean, they came in whatever way, shape, or form I needed in order to heal. And for me, since I decided not to date anyone, which was my choice, and this knowing and feeling that I had after I met my beloved, was it came in basically the form of my mother, who happens to be my original karmic connection that I had. And so I kept manifesting and creating versions of her. And when I finally understood that these people are here to teach me, and at the soul level, they actually have so much love for you that they're willing to go through these really soul expansive, like tear-jerking experiences for you, right? Like, because when you think about karmic connections, they can be painful at times. You feel like you're suffering a lot, but remember, we are in control of how much pain and how much suffering we experience. And I always tell people, like, once you can see something that is occurring in your reality, it is then your responsibility to accept that, heal it, and transform so you can create a different reality for yourself. Because if you see it and you don't do anything about it, you're actively choosing for it to be that way. So knowing that your beloved, or perhaps you are in a karmic connection, and this is driving you crazy or bringing up a lot of emotions, triggering you, and you're not doing anything about it, you're actively choosing to allow this person to still come in between you and your beloved. So one of the exercises that I did that really helped me on my journey was I wanted to really let go of the karma that I had for her and get into a state of appreciation, because a state of appreciation is a higher energy than, or frequency, I should say, than unconditional love, right? But it's, for whatever reason, for me, a much easier place to get into. And I had to think about what was it that I appreciated her for. And I wrote down a list. And then based on some things that I experienced with her, I wrote down what it was that I knew based on my experiences with her. And then I wrote out how in the past was I the same. And I know what that's like to be in her shoes. So I had to then say, okay, how can I understand this more? You know, what can I do to clear this stuff for me? And the more work that I did around things and more work that I healed myself, the easier it became to actually get into that appreciation and no longer fear karmic connections or these third-party dynamics, and to give appreciation to these connections for what they were showing me about me. Because what I didn't realize was I had a third-party energy within me. And I want to talk about third-party energy now because it's really important to understand this, because you can do all the inner work that you want around these karmic connections, but if you haven't done the work around the third-party energy that creates these third-party dynamics, then you're going to still keep recreating these types of connections, right? Where there's a third person or or a third something in the middle. And I want to talk about that actually first. I'm being guided to talk about third party dynamics. So third party dynamics means that there's you and the person that you are in relationship with. And even though for a lot of us in the twin flame journey, we're not in relationship with our beloved, however, this is a connection that we desire, right? And there's a third person coming in between it. And when I talk about third party dynamics, a lot of people just simply think it's a person. And a lot of times it can be. That person can be their karmic connection. And the important thing to remember is that third party dynamics can be something else. It can be a thing, and it can be an addiction to alcohol, drugs, food, to working, pornography, sex, like any type of addiction, gambling out there. It can be somebody or something that is coming in between you and your person. Does that make sense? And so thinking about that, it can be even things like video games, them obsessively thinking about video games because it's creating a block, a barrier between you and that person. And the reason why you're creating this third party dynamic is because of the third party energy. Are you still with me? Let me know if you're with me, because I know at times this can be really, really complicated. And I've taken years to truly understand this and to truly, once and for all, start healing this part of me. Because we hear third party energy all the time, and yet we don't quite understand it. And truth be told, I actually truly started understanding third party energy about 6 months ago. Like, I had always talked about it, and I just thought it was from the perspective for me was I was born into a third party dynamic. So my father was still married and my mother was unmarried, and I decided as a soul that I wanted to experience this. So I came into life. And so I was born under a third party dynamic where my dad was still married. And so that energy is within me. And when I started doing some investigation in terms of my lineages on my mother's side and my father's side, I realized that this third party energy ran rampant in both of my lineages. And I knew that it was my responsibility to heal this part of me, for me first, but then ultimately for my lineage, clearing it as far back as I can and far forward as I can in my lineage. And for me, I did a lot of internal work around this, right? Like I looked at what drew me to these individuals that created these third party dynamics with me. And the number one thing that I came down to for me was they were emotionally unavailable. And that was something that my father and my mother were as well towards me. They were both emotionally unavailable for me. My mom was 17 when she got pregnant with me and had me at 18. And so she was just a child herself, and she wasn't able to be there for me emotionally and sometimes physically, and definitely not mentally. And so I experienced a lot of trauma from this, which has helped me become the person who I am today. And always remember that about your trauma and the experiences that you had, is that at the level of the soul, you experience these because you wanted to experience this. So you could expand your consciousness, but also too, where a lot of our pain and suffering comes from is how we get to help others as well. But without experiencing what it is that you've experienced, you wouldn't be able to become the man or woman that you are becoming today. And you wouldn't be able to become the man or woman that you will be in the future. And I've learned to give gratitude to those experiences and to come to peace with them and to understand how they have shaped me and who I am today. And without them, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. But I digress. But back to third-party energy, it's to understand that there is this energy that's attracting some type of dynamic. Because when it comes to the twin flame connection, we have to remember that we are energetically connected to our beloved. And our chakras are connected as well. And usually with those cords of those cords of those connections that we have with them through cords, there's an energy that is attached to those cords. And what I found through my own personal work and working with others is there is usually a fear of intimacy that is intertwined into our cord within our sacral chakra with our beloved. And by the way, if you're on the twin flame journey, you cannot cut these cords with your beloved no matter how hard you try. And so you have to figure out what is that third party energy. There's an energy in there for a lot of you. It's going to be fear of intimacy. And that fear of intimacy is going to then attract that third party dynamic that is going to put a block between you and your beloved. So the intimacy that you have is basically blocked, delayed, or even like intensifying that fear of intimacy. And so it's really important for you to understand your journey and to understand what part of you is creating this third party energy. Because if it's within you, it's also going to be within your beloved as well. Because remember, as twin flames, we go through the exact same experiences, but just from different perspectives. Oftentimes, one is more of the avoidant and the other is more of the anxious attachment. And so we go through the same experiences, but just from different attachment styles and different experiences in life, whether that's coming from poverty consciousness or not. Like, we go through the exact same thing, which then leads me to another point. As you're going through this and understanding deepening your knowledge around these connections, when it comes to karmic connections, one of the things that I had learned like within the last 6 months was I remember I took myself back to the time when I was in my karmic connection, which was one of the hardest connections I ever had in my life. I didn't even think after this connection that I would be able to become the woman that I am today. And I went back to that to remember what it felt like to be in that karmic connection. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to be able to then remember and to understand what it is that my beloved could be possibly going through, and to be able to offer support and guidance energetically to him. And so how can you do the same to remember what it was like to be in your karmic connection? Because most likely, as a divine feminine, you were in a karmic connection prior to meeting your beloved. And whatever it is that your experience was with your karmic partner, most likely is going to be very similar to what your beloved is going through with their karmic partner. So how can you hold that space of understanding and that compassion for them to navigate through this while you're navigating through your own version of that karmic connection with whoever they are connected with, right? I feel like I'm maybe not explaining this very well, but drop in the comments below if any of this is making sense with you. So I want to give you a few points in helping you with moving through these karmic connections and ultimately clearing the third party energy. Because at the end of the day, you have to clear the karma that you have with your beloved's karmic partner, right? And that in itself is work. And sit with yourself, like, what is triggering you with them? It can be from like, why is it that he chose her and not me? What are they doing? All those thoughts that are going in your mind with the fact that that your beloved is in another connection. Utilize that for your healing. Write down those triggers. Dive into those triggers, right? And bring healing to those parts of you. And if you are a person that has found yourself in third-party dynamics multiple times in your life, and remember, third-party dynamics they don't have to be a person. They can be a thing, like an addiction or whatever it may be. And if you find that you've always had this within your dynamics, then it's your responsibility to heal and clear that within you. I would first check into your family lineage. Is this something that has been played out over and over and over in your family? If so, then you have to be able to understand that this is within you as well, because things get passed down generation by generation by generation, not only by conditioning and beliefs and stuff like that, but also too at the cellular and DNA level, which is why I have found that inner work can only get you so far. And then you have to be able to utilize some energy work to be able to transform and heal things at the cellular and DNA level. And so if you're struggling to let go of this once and for all, and you've done so much inner work, then I would encourage you to find an energy healer that can help you with that. And if you're needing guidance and coaching or energy work, always check out the description box below, because I do offer one-on-one coaching and energy healing sessions as well. And I do have a session that we do both. So that way we can work through some stuff and then energetically heal that as well. And for me, those two things are the biggest things that have transformed my life and have helped me let go of things that have been in my generation or my family for generations. And so, my friends, I hope this helps you and helps you start understanding and diving into this work around karmic connections and third-party dynamics in the twin flame journey. And everything that I talked about today can be applied to anyone that is in a karmic connection, or to anyone that finds themselves in a third-party dynamic. To end the third-party dynamic once and for all, you have to find out and discover what energy is creating these connections that is within you. And sometimes it might be more than one. And so, my friends, I'm just sending you all so much love and light, and can't wait to connect with you in the next episode. And I would love to hear from you, especially if you're on the twin flame journey. How can I support you? What things are you struggling with? Because I want to be able to provide content that is going to help support you on your twin flame journey, and to really find your truth in terms of your path for this journey, because I've discovered along the way that there's a lot of limiting beliefs in the Twin Flame Collective, and I want to be able to help clear those and transform those, so other twins don't have to take 5, 10, 15 years to come into 3D union with their beloved. And so if you're wanting more support and guidance, like I said, I offer one-on-one coaching and healing sessions, and I also launched at the beginning of May Circle, which is for the Divine Feminines on the Twin Flame journey. It's a monthly subscription where you get to connect with other Divine Feminines in this journey, receive group healing, there's live group coaching, and really so much more. And for me, this started off with really wanting to help and support as many Divine Feminines as I could at one time. But then I really realized that this portal that I had created for the Divine Feminines was really so much more. Because when a group of individuals come together and are doing massive healing around certain things, it transforms in ways that we can't even see or even imagine. And so this space is bigger than what I had originally created it for. So if you're wanting to be part of something that's bigger, but yet helping you and supporting you on your journey as well, then that is for you. And if you're wanting to dive more in depth into things and really accelerate your healing journey, I do have 2 spots open for Awaken. It is a one-on-one mentoring program and healing program for the Divine Feminines. And this is going to help support you in your journey of awakening with your twin flame journey as well. There's a lot that goes into this program, so it's not for the faint of heart. And so if you're wanting to create a massive transformation within you and really feel held and seen and supported and guided, then that's for you as well. Don't forget to check out the link down below for all the details on these programs. And don't forget to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. All the links are down below. And my friends, I can't wait to connect with you in the next episode. And until next time.